Hey everyone, Danae and I are going to talk to you about the SLUMS assessment, which stands for the St. Louis University Mental Status Examination. This assessment was published in 2002 and it measures different aspects of cognition, including attention and working memory, orientation, cognition, executive functioning. It can also include language and mental health, reasoning, and problem solving skills.
Yep, so as Tom touched on, the SLUMS is used to screen individuals to look for the presence of cognitive deficits and identify any changes over time. It can also be used to detect any early signs of dementia.
The SLUMS assessment is used for any adults that are ages 18 and older, or in any older adult unit of 65 and older adults. It's very simple to administer. There's only 11 total questions on the examination. It takes about 5 to 30 minutes depending on the client, and the only equipment that you need is a paper copy of the SLUMS assessment that you can get free online or a pen and pencil. The screening tool can be used in a variety of settings that include inpatient, outpatient settings. It could also be used in older adult mental health settings. Pretty much any diagnosis or indicators of cognitive loss that include any traumatic accident like a TBI.
Within the OT process, the SLUMS is primarily used as a screening tool for an initial assessment. It can indicate any needs that the client may have and potentially be used to set goals based on those needs. As far as the environment goes, it should be administered in a quiet environment with little distractions. The therapist wants to situate themselves close to the client so that they can interact throughout the assessment. So next we're going to have Tom as our therapist, and he's going to see how the SLUMS would typically be administered.
Hi Kaylee, how are you?
Good.
Have you had any problems with your memory?
No.
Do you mind if I ask you questions about your memory?
Sure.
All right. I just want to let you know that this isn't a test that you can necessarily fail. It's just a tool that's used to measure the amount of memory that you have, just like a thermometer measures the temperature.
Okay.
All right. So what day of the week is it?
Monday,
And what is the year?
2015,
What state are we in?
Michigan.
I'm going to ask you to please remember these 5 objects. I will ask you what they are later. Apple, pen, tie, house, car. Can you repeat them back to me?
Apple, tie, pen, house, and car.
All right. You have $100 and you go to the store and buy a dozen apples for $3 and a tricycle for $20. How much did you spend?
$23.
And how much do you have left?
$77.
Please name as many animals as you can in 1 minute.
Go.
Mm-hmm.
Dog, cat, bird, fish, monkey, pig, elephant, tiger, lion, zebra, gorilla, dolphin, shark, mouse, rat, flamingo, eagle, hamster, guinea pig, hedgehog, anteater, snake, lizard, crocodile, alligator, octopus,
All right.
chinchilla.
Good job. What were the 5 objects I asked you to remember earlier?
Apple, tie, pen, house, and car.
I'm going to give you a series of numbers, and I would like you to give them back to me backwards. For example, if I say 4, 2, you would say 2, 4.
Okay.
8, 7.
7, 8.
6, 4, 9.
9, 4, 6.
8, 5, 3, 7.
7, 3, 5, 8.
All right. So I want you to pretend that this is a clock face.
Okay.
Please put in the hour markers and the time at 10 minutes to 11 o'clock. want you to look at these shapes that are right below here. And then can you please place an X in the triangle? And then which one of these figures is the largest?
The clock.
Of these three?
Oh, the square.
Great, thank you. Now I'm going to tell you a story. Please listen carefully because afterwards I'm going to ask you some questions about it. Jill was a very successful stockbroker. She made a lot of money on the stock market. She then met Jack, a devastatingly handsome man. She married him and had 3 children. They lived in Chicago. She then stopped work and stayed at home to bring up her children. When they were teenagers, she went back to work. She and Jack lived happily ever after. What was the female's name?
Susan?
When did she go back to work?
When her kids were teenagers.
What work did she do?
She was a stockbroker.
In what state did she live in?
Chicago, Illinois.
All right, thank you.
Alright, so now we're going to touch on some of the strengths and weaknesses of the SLUMS assessment. The first strength being oversensitivity. So various studies that we have found have suggested that the SLUMS assessment and the MMSE assessment have comparable sensitivities. However, the SLUMS may be better at detecting mild neurocognitive disorder compared to the MMSE because it does include more categories of cognition, including size differentiation and logical memory, when compared to other tests such as the MMSE assessment. Additionally, the SLUMS assessment measures many aspects of cognition, as Tom touched on earlier. It is available for free. You can type it right into Google and it pops up and you can print it out. It requires no training and it's easy to administer, as we saw earlier. And we will touch on this a little bit later, but the SLUMS assessment does account for education level, so it differentiates between whether or not you have a high school diploma or GED or not. As far as weaknesses go, while oversensitivity can be considered a strength, we can also consider it a weakness because it might be too sensitive. So, for example, if you have a high school diploma or GED and you get 4 points wrong, that classifies you as having a mild neurocognitive disorder, where some people that get put in that category might not necessarily belong there. Additionally, because the SLUMS assessment is fairly new, many psychometric properties have not yet been established. So it was just established in 2002, as Tom said earlier. Various properties that we found have not yet been established include test-retest reliability, inter and intra-rater reliability, internal consistency and content validity, and face validity. However, some properties have been established, which include construct validity, criterion validity, and then a couple studies that we have found have shown that when compared to the MMSE and MoCA, the SLUMS test has excellent construct and criterion validity.
Another aspect of the assessment that we wanted to mention was how the scoring breakdown works. As Danae mentioned previously, it's separated by education level, which is very helpful. You can see on the left-hand column here, those individuals that have a high school education or above are going to be scored on the left-hand column. Those that haven't received a GED or a high school diploma are going to be scored on the right-hand side. And it's a little bit more lenient in how many points they can get off to be diagnosed in a certain category. You can see the diagnosis categories in the center of the table, with normal cognition being on top, and then MNCD, which stands for mild neurocognitive disorder, is going to be in the center, and then dementia will be the diagnosis for those receiving the lowest scores. And then when you look at the actual scoring sheet, you're going to be able to see how each question, the points break down for each of those. So for example, number 5, when we asked the client, when they had a certain amount of money and they buy something, how much did they spend? If they're able to state back how much they spent on a certain item, they will get 1 point right if they were correctly able to answer that question. And then for them to be able to figure out how much money they had left would be 2 points, which is listed there in the dark circle on the left. Then you simply track the amount of total points for question 5, which would be 3, in the column at the left. And the column at the left will total for a total of 30 points being the maximum total score for this assessment.
That's all, folks.